Hi guys, Biker Paul here. So today then, I'm here at Via Moto at Clay Cross near Chesterfield, and I'm here to test the Kawasaki Z900. It's a 2020 model. Really looking forward to this. It's the first time at this particular dealership and first time on a Kawasaki. So stay tuned, we'll take the bike out for a spin, do a walk round, go through all the features and see how we get along. Initial impressions then are pretty good. It feels nice and comfortable. There's no pressure on my wrist, there's no strain to the bars. My knees are probably a little bit higher up than my Yamaha MT-09, but that's probably just more down to the ergonomics of the bike, but it's certainly comfortable. It's quite compact and the fuel tank is fairly high up, but again, that's not a negative, it's just the styling of the bike. The actual engine is the first thing you notice. It's just ultra smooth, and in comparison to my Yamaha MT-09, which does have a little bit of a snatchy throttle, there's none of that here. It's very smooth. So the other thing to note then is this lovely TFT screen here. So this is new for 2020. Again, quite compact, but it's got a lot of information and it's very clear. So you can see the gear indicator, you've got your riding mode, so there's 3 riding modes on this and then a manual mode. You've also got the speedo, fuel gauge, the power mode, the traction control, your miles per gallon. It's got everything that you need and it's really nice and clear. So that's an excellent addition. And although bikes are becoming more advanced, not every bike at this price point does have a TFT. Okay, so here it is then, the 2020 Kawasaki Z900. Looks excellent in my opinion. I like the styling. This is obviously not the traditional Kawasaki green, this model, but I like the red graphics on the bodywork and on the wheels, and very modern, very aggressive styling, but I quite like that. It's similar in a way to my Yamaha MT-09. So we'll go over the spec of the bike then. So engine wise, it's a 948cc inline 4 liquid cooled engine. Plenty of power, it's very smooth. If you like 4-cylinder engines, you'll love this. Puts out 123 brake horsepower with 77 foot-pound of torque at 7,700 RPM. What I would say is with some 4-cylinder engines, they can be a little bit peaky and they only hit the power, you know, higher up in the rev range. This is not the case with this particular bike. There's plenty of torque. It just accelerates quickly, really, no matter what gear you're in. So very, very torquey engine, which is perfectly suited to this kind of bike with it being a naked middleweight. So the brakes then, you've got a 300mm disc at the front with a 4-pot Nissin caliper. Again, plenty of feel on the brakes. They feel very powerful. No issues in terms of stopping power so far. I've not been on the bike that long today, but it does feel excellent. Got a 250mm disc at the rear with again a Nissin caliper. In terms of suspension, you've got 41mm forks at the front that are adjustable for rebound damping and preload. Again, they feel excellent, almost perfectly set up, I would say. A little firm, or a little bit on the firm side, but not too kind of jarring. You don't feel the bumps at all. They're just kind of perfectly set up, I would say. At the rear, you've got this what they call backlink suspension. So as you can see, it's like horizontal setup on the shock. For the tyres then, we've got a 120 at the front and a 180 at the rear. The actual tyres are Dunlop Sport Max Road Sport 2 and they feel excellent. Plenty of feel, plenty of grip. It's pretty wet and damp today, so it's not ideal conditions, but so far, considering that these are new tyres, yeah, I've got no issues at all. They felt, or they gave me confidence turning into corners. I didn't feel like I was on, you know, new tyres or an unfamiliar bike. Plenty of feel and plenty of grip, so excellent tyres. The fuel tank is 17 litres. It's got a weight of 212 kilograms. These are the figures on the Kawasaki site. That's fairly typical. The MT-09 weighs a little less at 193 kilograms. You certainly don't feel any weight though when you're on the road. It feels like a very light bike, this. Most modern bikes do, you know, they're kind of set up spot on. It's very rare that you get on a bike now that feels too heavy, unless, you know, you're talking really big adventure bikes, but yeah, no, this feels perfectly fine. It's got a seat height of 820mm, and in terms of the electronics then, so you've got this lovely TFT screen, we'll go over that in a moment. It's got 3 levels of traction control. You've got 3 riding modes, which are Sport mode, Rain and a manual mode. It's got the LED lights, you can see down there. So they've changed the front end for this year, so it's a little bit of a restyling. You've got the little screen there, which is nice. I like these indicators, so they're very small and compact. Again, in comparison to my bike, the Yamaha MT-09, that has quite large indicators. They just look a bit naff really, but these look very sleek. I like those indicators, look excellent. It's got Bluetooth smartphone connection, and you can connect it to the Kawasaki Rideology app, so that gives you access, you know, in terms of the bike stats and a lot of other features. I'll be honest, it's not something that I've looked into, but if you're interested in the bike, you know, there is information on the Kawasaki website, but it's an extra little bonus feature. That it's got an assistant slipper clutch and ABS. There is also a performance model which comes with an Akrapovic exhaust, a seat cowl, a tank pad and a fly screen. This particular model is a base model, and this one goes for 8,899. The performance model is 9,749. But in terms of comparison to similar bikes, so you've got, like I said, this base model 8899, the MT-09, the base model is 8745, and the Triumph Street Triple R, which I guess will be the model in the Triumph range that this is most similar to or in competition with, that Triumph is 8,900. So there's very little to separate them really. You're talking, you know, probably about £100 or so. So I would say if you're interested in looking at middleweight naked bikes, these 3 are probably a good comparison. You have got the KTM as well. There's a 790, and then new for this year the KTM 890, and you've got Ducati monsters and so on. But I think personally, in terms of comparison, the closest bikes would be this, the Z900, the MT-09 and the Triumph Street Triple, because they've got fairly similar cc capacity engines, but also they're in the kind of same price bracket with similar features. They do have different engines of course, but if you're looking at a 4-cylinder bike, or you're more used to 4-cylinder bikes, then this is probably going to be a pick of the bunch. And I think personally it kind of combines some of the best elements of both. So it's got a lot of technology and electronics as you'd expect, but also it feels very smooth, very refined, a little bit better setup I would say than an MT-09 in terms of the suspension and the handling and the brakes. But it's also got that power and that aggressive raw feel to the engine, which you may not necessarily get on the Triumph. I've not personally ridden the 765 Triumph. I used to own a 675, but based on, you know, press comparisons and reports and reviews, the kind of overall feeling you get of the Triumph is that it's very refined, it's a high quality machine using top components, and the handling is spot on and the riding position and everything else, but it might lack that little X factor in terms of, you know, the acceleration and the excitement and the kind of overall feeling of the bike and its engine. And I think that's where this bike and the Yamaha MT-09 come into play. But certainly this overall feels to me more refined than my own bike, the MT-09. But yeah, sometimes it's just down to styling as well, and I actually like the styling of this. It will probably divide opinion a little bit, a lot of naked bikes do, but I like it. I mean, it's kind of got a matte finish to the tank. Again, it's a little bit dirty today, so forgive me for this if it's not looking its best on the video here, but it does actually look really nice in person, and it's a nice compact machine as well, and there's nothing really that kind of sticks out to me as ugly. Sometimes, or in some cases, people replace the exhaust, might go for an aftermarket exhaust, but it's not like hideous or anything. It kind of fits into the overall aesthetic of the bike. So we'll have a look at the screen next. See a little startup graphic there when you turn the bike on. In terms of the display then, like I said, there's plenty of information. It's a compact screen, but it just gives you everything you need to know really. So you can see there, top left, the gear indicator. We've got the riding mode, so we can see where it says rider there. You can adjust them on this left bar, just these up and down kind of rocker switch there. This is the custom mode, the rider one. If you hold the up arrow in on that bar, you've got rain, and then you just keep holding it in to go through the different ones. So you've got road and lastly sport. So yeah, you can have 3 preset modes, or you can have one that's a bit more adjustable depending on what you're looking for. And again, you just go down to go back through them all again. So you've got the rev counter along the top, obviously you've got the speedo just below that. You've got a fuel gauge down here on the left side, so a proper fuel gauge as well. You've got the full power, so where it says power F, that's saying it's in full power with a traction control setting of 2. So there's 3 levels of traction control. And then around the screen you've got the actual warning lights saying it's in neutral, ABS. You've got the oil marker there as well. Obviously that'll disappear once it's turned on. So you've got your miles per gallon figure. So we'll start it up then so you can get an idea of the engine noise. So hopefully it picked up okay on the mic there, but it sounds excellent, and it does sound good on the road as well. Other than from a visual point of view, I don't think noise wise you'd probably necessarily need to replace that exhaust. You may get, a little bit of a different exhaust note on an aftermarket one, but it's certainly not quiet. In terms of handling, then it feels fantastic. It's very light, seems easy to manoeuvre. There's plenty of confidence in these tyres. This particular bike is brand new to the dealership. They've only just got it, and obviously I've got to be careful on the tyres. It's a pretty wet and damp day, as you can see, but these particular Dunlops, they give you plenty of feedback. They don't feel vague in any way, and the bike itself just feels really light and nice to handle. In terms of gearbox, then it's very slick, very smooth. There's no notchy feel to the gear changes. It doesn't have a quick shifter, this particular bike, but whether or not that's a negative depends on your preference. I mean, it's so easy and so slick to change gear. It's got an assistant slipper clutch, so that probably helps, but yeah, it feels excellent in terms of gear changes. Yeah, definitely plenty of power. And again, this engine is just so flexible, doesn't really matter what gear you put it in, there's always plenty of power, plenty of torque. It's just, like I say, a pleasure to ride this bike. So in terms of overall impressions then, it's a fantastic bike. The suspension is well set up, the brakes are very strong, the riding position feels perfect. It's very difficult to fault, and I think, like I say, it's kind of got the best of both worlds. It's an exciting bike to ride, super smooth on the acceleration, the clutch is nice and light, the gear changes are very slick, but it's also very refined in terms of the handling. It feels very light, everything feels well set up, it doesn't feel bouncy in terms of suspension. I'd be very tempted personally to have a look at this bike, or a serious look, if I was to ever swap my MT-09. If you own an MT-09, I'd suggest probably giving this one a try as well. In terms of the two, the engine on the MT-09 is a little different. I would say it's still more of a kind of hooligan bike as opposed to this. It feels a bit more raw and kind of rough and ready, the Yamaha. The way it accelerated, it kind of almost always pushing you to go faster, the MT-09, but this one is a lot smoother. It's still exciting, but it's just a different kind of engine. Obviously that's just down to the different configuration of the 3-cylinder as opposed to the 4-cylinder, but it's certainly not boring. It's not, a 4-cylinder engine that's dull. I used to own a Yamaha XJ6, and that had a detuned R6 engine, and that was quite a dull engine in my opinion, because all the power was at the high end of the rev range, and you really had to push the bike before it'd get going, and once you got to a certain point of the rev range it'd take off. But when you're just kind of commuting, or if you're not constantly, you know, pushing the bike, it wasn't much fun. Whereas this, there's just plenty of power. It always feels exciting to ride, in the short time I've had it anyway. And you know, I can imagine that as a commuter bike it'd be brilliant, because it's just very easy to ride. It's very smooth. Like I said, the clutch and the brake lever action is very light. There's no problems in terms of the ergonomics. It's a nice bike to feel comfortable on. Overall, an excellent bike, and I would definitely recommend, you know, go out, give one a test ride and see what you feel. So I'd like to say thank you to the guys at Via Moto Kawasaki here in Clay Cross for letting me take out this bike today. Only just come into the dealership, so if you are interested then come along. It's an excellent dealership, looks fantastic, plenty of bikes, plenty of choice, and yeah, I've really enjoyed this bike. First time on a Kawasaki, and I probably will be, hopefully, taking some more bikes out in future, maybe the ZH2, the supercharged machine. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please leave any comments if you've got any questions on the bike. I try and put out a range of videos similar to this in terms of bike ride reviews, product reviews, videos on my own bike, my Yamaha MT-09. So if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Subscribe to my channel if you've not already, as we'll be putting out videos similar to this in future.